September 2021 edition of Farsite's Human News, the remote viewing news forecast show that tells you what is going to happen, not what did happen. I am Bound. Before we begin, let me remind you that July and August were our months of publishing reflections. We have published 4 reflections, 2 in July and 2 in August. These reflections are our attempt to pull together so much of what we've been researching over the years. Be sure to watch them. Also, I am able to announce our next major mysteries project, which will be released on the 15th of September. Here it is, Sodom and Gomorrah. That's right. You see, according to the Bible, some angels came down to visit this guy, Lot. They had a conversation, and then the local townspeople, who were sort of nuts, came to Lot and told him that they wanted to have sex with the angels, that is to say, rape them. Well, the angels took note of this, told Lot to take his family out of the place, and that they, the angels, would take care of the locals. Once Lot and his family had gone, the angels sent fire and brimstone to rain down on the towns of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they destroyed the entire place, killing all of the people. That is the biblical story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Don't you want to know what really happened? Well, you will have your chance on the 15th of September, in about 2 weeks. Be ready for it. Something new on the teaching front, for those who want to personalize instruction and remote viewing, Princess Janae and Trudy Benjamin are teaching remote viewing both individually and in groups. However, Princess will be offering special courses in the use of our site's financial forecasting methods as well. We publish financial forecasting methods each month on FarsitePrime.com. For example, Farsite published a 2-month forecast for the S&P 500 early July that covered the months of July and August. The forecast said that the S&P 500 would gradually gain during the forecast period, and the last week of the forecast period would have an upward spike. Well, here's a picture of what happened over the past 2 months. Note the spike at the end also. Also, we are publishing a new 2-month forecast for the S&P 500 this month, September 2021. So you may want to follow that as well. It is fun. Now, no one at Farsite is a licensed financial advisor, and we do all of our forecasts for entertainment and educational purposes only. They are experiments in remote viewing. Nonetheless, our forecasts have been extraordinarily interesting to watch since we started publishing them on FarsitePrime.com. And many people now want to learn how to do what we do. Princess is more than happy to teach remote viewing with financial forecasts in mind. We use specialized templates for our forecasts, and the use of the templates requires the viewers to know our style of remote viewing. The templates cover a wide range of forecasting needs, including investment evaluations. We do a lot of stuff that nobody else does, and it is a big subject. But for those who are interested, Princess will show you how we do what we do. Be patient in learning any of our methods. Nothing we do was learned in a day. Also, understand that when Princess or Trudy teach remote viewing, no one at Farsite gets any financial benefit from this. Princess and Trudy do this entirely on their own. Also, we continue to publish our SECO forecasts, which are our contemporary investigations of cryptocurrency opportunities. As you can surmise, these forecasts involve cryptocurrencies, and the forecasts are for 5 years. You can find out information about those forecasts on our website. Also, we have published preliminary results for our SECO forecasts, which to date appear to be highly promising. You can also find these preliminary results on our website. And again, as with all of our economic forecasts of any type, we do this for entertainment and educational purposes only. Remember, our style of remote viewing is called Farsite, and this is important in more ways than one. We are trying to expand the way remote viewing is done and to expand what we can do as ISBs. And remember, we use the term ISB to refer to any living thing. We often inhabit physical bodies, and in doing so, we are able to animate our bodies, to make them talk and move. So, sometimes we have physical bodies, and sometimes we do not. There is no difference. We are still ISBs. We are beings whose existence simply is, and for the purpose of being. So, remember, us ISBs at Farsite do Farsite. When you use our methods, you are also ISBs doing Farsite. Also, we could really use your help to share our YouTube content with your friends. Be sure to like our videos, but really try to click the share button and send our content to your friends. Word of mouth has always been the best way to spread any really new idea, and relying on institutions to make fundamental changes in our world is almost a contradiction in terms. Real change happens from actions of people, not institutions. Institutions typically always resist change. They always have and they always will. Since all of you are people, help us make the change happen. It's a people thing. Moving on. How do you hear about all of our activities that we do at Farsite so that you can participate and get the latest when they happen, including our live streams? To start with, we use our email list and YouTube to make our major event announcements. So there are two things you need to do. First, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and remember to click the notification bell that appears after you subscribe. That is the only way YouTube will notify you of all of our new events, especially our live stream events. Just subscribing doesn't actually do anything. The notification bell is the important part. But that only notifies you of the things that we release on YouTube. To be notified about the things that we release on FarsitePrime.com, which you can watch using our Apple and Android apps on the web and on your home TV, you need to subscribe to our free email newsletter found on our website, farsite.org. You can also allow our apps to notify you of new releases on FarsitePrime.com. Be sure to do all three things. First, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Farsite, and then remember to click the notification bell, and then subscribe to our free email newsletter that you can find on our website. And finally, go to the settings of our app and allow it to give you notifications of our new releases on FarsitePrime.com. Links for our YouTube and newsletter are in the description area below this video, and the app is, well, it's on your phone. Those are how we announce what we do. We never send out spam, and we never give our subscriber list to anyone else for any purposes. Now, on to human news. Let's start by summarizing what happened last month with our August Human News program. In August, the big stories were the Olympics in Japan, the collapse of the war in Afghanistan, and the resignation of Governor Cuomo in New York. Well, Trudy's forecast of August was really interesting. At first, I thought that her data described an event that was an Olympics, possibly a pole vaulting event. But after the events in Afghanistan, I realized that her session could also have been a perfect description of the crowd scene at the Kabul airport with tons of people facing long barriers, which, of course, were the barriers surrounding the airport as the evacuation ramped up into high gear. I'm not sure which event was described, the Olympics or Kabul, since the correlations are remarkable for both. So, I think I will leave it up to you to sort this one out. Now, Inti-Summon, Kamaya, and Princess all described an urban area that was engulfed in armed conflict. There were non-surface structures dropping large explosives nearby and lots of wartime movement in the streets. Basically, these sessions remarkably matched the events in Afghanistan for the month. Finally, I reported on what clearly looked like a sex scandal of some sort, or at least a scandal of inappropriate touching. Well, August was the month Governor Cuomo of New York had to resign as a result of numerous sexual harassment accusations. Honestly, friends, even for experienced remote viewers, this remote viewing stuff is a bit freaky when the forecast events actually happen. I hope you enjoy watching them. Now, let's move on to this month's Human News forecast for September 2021. Remember, we could always be wrong, and all remote viewing must be seen as an experiment, not a certainty. But look at the data for yourself, make your own decisions, and then let's watch the month roll out to see what actually happens. These results are amazing to watch. It is best if you just watch them yourself without me trying to explain them in advance. So let's begin. I will return after all of the reports are presented to help pull everything together.
Okay, starting off, I have a lot of natural land and man-made land as well. It looks like there's a regular topography here, and then just kind of level topography as well. So kind of peaks and stuff in the background, and then level topography here. The first thing that I notice is that I see this big mushroom cloud looking thing. Okay, so it's going like this, up, and then it kind of comes out like that. It looks like this. Okay, it's very loud here. I hear so much going on. It sounds like a lot of like footsteps running, and it sounds like people are screaming, and it sounds like something's crying. It sounds just very chaotic here. And then on top of that, I hear just a lot of rumbling and roaring as well. It's so loud to the point where it's almost deafening to others. I also sense that there's some sort of non-service structure here. It feels kind of like this. Okay, it looks kind of like this. And there's a couple of non-surface structures here as well. I see like another one kind of back here and another one like back here. There are subjects inside these non-surface structures as well, okay? So now, I also feel like there's surface structures here. So non-surface structures and surface structures. These surface structures seem to be just like these kind of big buildings like this. And there's just like many of them. It's giving almost like a city, like a small city kind of vibe. And yeah, so like I said, there's subjects on the base surface here. There's a big mushroom cloud, and there's non-surface structures. Okay, so the movement that I'm experiencing feels very chaotic. I'm talking about people running, people jumping, people screaming, everything. Things being almost like blown apart too. I feel like there's some sort of explosion happening. Because, of course, we see this, but right after this kind of happens, I see, again, the regular topography in the background, right? Then I see these things on the base surface that look almost like rash, like the surface has a rash, okay? So it looks like there's rashes on the ground. And when I tell you that I don't really sense any subjects on the base surface anymore, I don't. It feels like the subjects here no longer exist, and it feels like even their bodies are not left behind. It feels very empty here. And then I do still see this non-surface structure kind of flying away in the distance, like that. Okay. Focusing in on this non-surface structure, this subject that's in here, this subject is a male subject. They seem pretty slim, and they look a little like slim face as well, and these kind of humanoid shaped eyes and stuff like that. It does feel mostly human. It does feel like a human subject. This subject here feels like they're very overzealous. They feel so into it. It feels almost like they're playing a video game, or they're just in the time of life. But they're definitely enjoying this whole fiasco that's happening here. Okay, don't forget that this kind of mushroom cloud is still here. I see a lot of grays, I see a lot of blacks, I see a lot of reds, and like an occasional, natural colors like greens and browns and stuff. But for the most part, it's very gray, it's very black, and it's very red, orangey here. And then again, I just really want to focus on this explosion. It feels like it's starting right here. It feels like it starts here and it expands outward in all directions. It expands every which way. This thing is huge, it's massive, and it's taking everything with it. Okay. Again, this guy who's ever in this structure, he seems pretty hype about it. He seems really strong-willed, and he is liking what is happening here. He is enjoying it and having a great time. Now I'm going to move to the cause of this target event. Okay, so when I'm focusing on the cause of this event, a main thing that I'm feeling is that this event is caused to be simply because that's what they wanted. Okay, there was no reason really, nothing that really triggered them. It could be something that's built up over time, so many things, and now it's just like, why not? That's exactly how this subject is feeling. The reason why this is happening is because someone somewhere wanted it to, and that's it. That's just the reason why. They don't care about these people. They don't even care about the guy up here. It feels like someone somewhere else has orchestrated this and wants it to happen, and it's going to. And it feels almost like it was unstoppable. There's nothing that could have been done. This was going to happen because someone had that thought and they put it into motion. And it sounds so bad to feel and to say that there's nothing that could have really stopped this, but it almost feels like it's like predestined and predetermined. It was going to happen. Yeah, I just feel like it's very, it almost feels like there's not even an emotion there. Like there's no anger or hatred. Like they don't hate this area or these people or these things. It literally is just because they can and they wanted to and they wanted to just see it through. And that's really all I have for the cause of this. Now moving to the target event. Again, the event is there's other structures right above, kind of going in like a figure 8. They're going like this in the sky. Okay, so they're coming around over and over again. There's these rashes on the ground where impact has happened, and the mushroom clouds as well. There were subjects here on the base service. I heard that screaming, the shouting, the movement, and now there's like no movement. It feels very still and just empty, and the only remnants of, or the only thing that's left here are these marks on the ground. And I think this is just like rubbish or something left over. But I feel like even physical bodies are no longer here, so they must have just like disintegrated or something like that, been taken or completely obliterated at this point. But that's the target event here is this destruction of these structures, these subjects, and the surrounding area. The last thing I wanted to add here is that overall this energy here is very depressing and sad, and it does feel like innocent lives were lost in this process, and it's almost like you wish something could be done, but it's not possible. And the overall feeling is just very sad, even though it's empty and completely like gone. That energy is staying here, and this energy is that something horrendous has happened.
I have a base surface here with structures, lots of structures, land, both level and irregular topography here. I'm seeing foliage, very large structures, tall, very city-like. I'm also seeing mountains. I have subjects, movement, very natural and or clean like smells in a sense here, lots of movement. It's very, very loud. I'm getting this sense of something here is very important or valuable of some sort. There are a lot of cloud dynamics. There are a lot of cloud dynamics or foliage. I can't tell. I definitely see the closeness and the energy thereof of what's happening. There's a slight chill or cool breeze that I'm feeling. I have this structure. It appears to be circular here. My first visual on page 6. In my first visual that I'm getting is like a circular cylindrical structure with foliage around here. Other structures in this area here. and lots of land, man-made land, and some natural land here. This is a very dynamic target, but it's also got something static to it as well, but also quite chaotic at the same time. There's a lot of motion, movement, and energy happening here. I can't tell if it's a fast running pace of some sort, but there's a franticness going on here within the subjects. Structures. Okay, so the structure is round that I'm seeing right now and tall. There's also a rectangular structure with a lot of windows, or what looks like, or a transparent like situation to it. There's so much movement. It feels like there's so much happening. I'm almost blacking it out. It's giving me a bit of a headache. Or either. There are a lot of subjects outside here in front of me, in the midst thereof, like a crowd through the structures on the land in front of. I'm seeing mountains in the back. It feels like I have something very big happening that is drawing subjects outside the structure frantically or in a chaotic manner. All on the base surface outside, clustered in groups, crowds of subjects here, just clustered in groups here, the structure and then the land. I hear talking voices, murmuring sounds. In a very urban environment with natural components around. I'm seeing this, I can't tell if it's an object or structure, very random block or structure-like thing, object or structure-like thing is what I'm seeing. I just keep getting flashes of it, rectangular-like. I keep getting this sense and feeling and even smell of smoke, fire, gas leak. I'm going to deduct those things. Gas leak, smoke, fire. I keep getting that sense of thing. Fast-paced movement out of the structure. Feels like they can't breathe a little. There's coughing going on. I see a large container or object, box-like. Feels like the center of the chaos. What I'm seeing here, I'm not sure what this is. Very chilly and moderate temperature where I am, but warm as well. I think it's breezy. Kind of feels like the feeling of when it just finished raining or something. How the air is damp and cool, even if it's still warm outside. But that's the way I'm feeling. I'm always cold. I'm definitely landing tar, gravel, land, grassy as well. Black. I can feel cement on my feet, or like I said, tar. Brown colors as well. There is, like I said, crisp and moisture to the air, cool. It's non-surface structure. It's not extremely prominent right now, but I'm definitely seeing it. Ooh, this is giving me quite a headache. There's some life here, and some people are hurt. I cannot tell if people are dying, if this is a death event or not. But there's definitely an ailment of some sort going on here. Something seems to be amiss. I'm seeing casual to business wear. I'm also seeing uniforms here, uniformed situations as well. A lot of energetic structures, land movement here, foliage, city, and subjects. There is what I think is a bridge that I'm seeing here. Like an overpass and a road with multiple lanes, or land with multiple lanes. In a sense, I'm seeing that here. The energetics that I'm seeing here or feeling here are not a complete visual thing. It's almost like a gas or a chemical like situation. Also physical energetics, like energy. I can't tell if anything is blowing up, but it's definitely not safe to be in the structure that I'm in, where whatever is happening affects more than just this structure. It's affecting the area around it. I see non-surface structures swarming, almost hovering, swarming. Lots of emergency or safety vehicles, deductions, of course. Sirens, I'm hearing sirens, hazard suits. I'm seeing, I believe, movement and a lot of lights. Just a lot of lights here.
Alright, so for my first visual, I'm getting this expansive topography that's mostly flat, but I'm seeing some mountainous areas over here, and I'm getting a lot of structures. So like this is quite an expansive urban area, and this urban area has a lot of low-level structures, medium to low-level structures, but some higher-level structures in certain areas, but nothing that makes me really think like, oh wow, that's like a huge structure. So mainly just wide, expansive urban area, and that is the general vibe I'm getting of this environment. Some tannish hues in the landscape that's more natural, but otherwise very large, expansive, wide urban area. I'm also seeing a small area here with a lot of dark blackish smoke rising out of it. So relative to the scope of the urban area, it's I guess not that large, but still it's noticeable just looking at the general scope of things that there's a poof of black smoke that's popping out of that area. So moving on to the next visual. So I'm seeing some crowds of subjects sort of looking down at this urban area. So these wider buildings or structures right over here, and some other structures. I mean, it's an urban area, so there's a lot of structures. So over here, and more on this side, I'm seeing another side of the road, and lots of other structures over here. Sort of just these low elevation structures that are just lining the sides of a road in this second visual. And I'm getting this sense of a lot of subjects. So there's a couple subjects over here, and they're sort of just walking around sort of in a scattered formation. And then other subjects over here, they seem to have a bit of a crowd going over on one side. So there's one side that has a bit of a crowd, some trailing subjects over there, and I'm getting the sense some of these subjects, they have just normal, modern, casual clothes. Some of them seem to have more cloth-like headgear on, and right there, this guy seems to have some facial hair, and he's got a cloth-like thing on his head, like a headgear sort of thing. And yeah, this just sort of seems like just a lot of subjects are out and about on the streets. So a lot of subjects are, and not really particularly in the road here, but because I see the road being relatively here, but on the sidewalks at least, there's a lot of subjects out and about on the sidewalks. So moving over here, I'm going to draw this again, but at a different angle. So you've got some structures over here, more structures up on this side, and then you've got the sidewalk over there, and then over here we've got another part of the sidewalk, and I'll keep drawing some structures. Some structures, some more structures. Okay, great. And so we got a lot of subjects over on this area, like a big crowd of subjects over here. And something that happens, there's a lot of energetics that sort of spews off in that direction. And there's a couple subjects over on this side, not as many. And then over down here, sort of like on this side, there's just like some energetics that sprays out and sort of rockets up, and it's just a huge explosion of energetics that just sort of rockets outwards and upwards from sort of the side of the road over here. And it seems like a lot of these subjects, most of these subjects, because this is quite, I mean, there's more than just 4 of them. There's a huge crowd of subjects over here, and a bunch of them are obviously just running away. They're just moving away, but there's a couple of them that are moving sort of towards the energetic, fiery explosiveness that's over there. There's a couple of them that are just moving right into the fray of whatever happened over here, but that's a very small percentage compared to the much larger percentage of these subjects which are running away. And so that concludes this particular part of the visual. So after a bunch of these subjects disperse, it seems like in the aftermath, all of this junk is sort of cleared out, this sort of and there's just a bunch of rubble. So there's just a bunch of rubble here left over, and there's a couple of subjects that are sort of standing around the rubble that are sort of messing with it. They're sort of like sifting through it and just moving around it. And so after the energetics, so when the energetics happens, it goes, everyone scatters, there's a bunch of excitement, multi-directional movement of the subjects. Once the energetics dies down and it's more or less just the damage that's left behind, you see all these other subjects, they sort of like huddle around the environment, and they're sort of like moving around through it. And that sort of seems to be the very next step of what happens in the sequence of events here. So the next thing I see is this one subject, and he does not look so well. He's sort of got, his whole body just looks like a crisp. I mean, it just looks like he's been burnt, and his face feels flaky and crusty and hard and stuff like that. And it just sort of seems like he's just been blackened by, it kind of just looks like burnt meat. I mean, it's just like, he's really in tough shape. And it seems like this subject is being, I mean, you still see the color of the skin and stuff like that. I mean, it's not like completely charred, but it seems like there's a lot of charred parts, and it doesn't look like this person's alive at all. But, I mean, maybe they are, but like it doesn't look like it for sure. And then there's a bunch of other subjects that are all around, and they're sort of hoisting him up and sort of carrying him out of this environment. It just seems like there's a crowd of subjects that are out here, and they're holding him up and getting him out of wherever he's been damaged from. I mean, it just seems like there's a crowd of people around this one subject that really got damaged, and they're holding him up, and I sort of see him just sort of like lying like this, and just sort of looking up at the sky, and then like other people are sort of holding him up and just sort of like carrying him out of this like this rubble environment that's got a lot of other subjects sort of positioned around it. Yeah, and they've got him out of here, and they're moving him away. So, yeah, and this seems to be the last point of events that happens after the energetics. So it seems like a large, expansive urban area. There was explosive energetics that sort of boomed out of a side of a building or just on the side of a road or something like that. And a bunch of subjects sort of taken by surprise, real shock, and some of the subjects just went into that space and started, trying to, I guess, help people. And they pulled out this guy who seems like he really, really got damaged quite a bit from whatever event that was.
My first visual is of a large body of water. It's very vast, and there is a structure on this body of water, and this structure is man-made. Kind of looks like half of it is somewhat in the water, and there are subjects inside and outside. And this is a very dynamic target. There's a lot of energetics, and I can't pick up if it's either coming from inside this man-made structure or if it's coming from the water. And when I taste this water, it is salty, and it's like blue hues. For my next visual, I'm seeing a subject, and this subject looks like someone in distress, and he's in this structure. He kind of has his arms up. Yeah, definitely in distress, and he's kind of like holding on to the edges. And his legs are he looks like he's bracing himself. And around him, you can see kind of like a console. So there's just like buttons, and like it looks like settings, and you can actually see water in this structure as well. So he's bracing himself, and water is starting to fill up. So it's kind of like covering his legs too. And you can tell it's a subject in distress, and these are kind of windows, and you can also kind of see the water on the outside of these windows, and a lot of energetics, a lot of crashing, and also on the outside, the light is very dim or dark. So I would say it's kind of like it's a nighttime scenario, or when this is happening is during the evening time. For my next visual, I'm seeing the structure again, and the way it looks is like it's being moved a lot, so it's kind of like crashing and huge waves. So
So the structure, again, kind of half submerged in the water. And then to the side of it, right side of it, you can see a smaller structure. And this has subjects inside. Both of them, there's like subjects in here, subjects in here. I deducted evacuation. It kind of looks like they were moved from this structure. That seems like it's sinking, it's kind of going down under. And like right behind this, you can see just ginormous waves. Very, very high water. A lot of energetics, kind of like wind. When you like tune in, you can hear like shouting and like wind type sounds. My next visual is of a bird's eye view of this base surface and the activity that's going on the base surface. So I have the structure, you can see from above, kind of shaped somewhat like this. And then the smaller structure right here. And the water everywhere. It's very vast, so wherever the structure is, it's kind of like right in the middle of this huge water surface. And from here, you can also kind of see the energetic activity. I deducted lightning just because of some flashes, and it's at first glance, it was just like dark and gray. You could kind of see the whole area is covered in clouds, and I kind of had to like spiritually part these clouds to have a look at the base surface below. But yeah, from above, from a bird's eye view, this is what it looks like. And the temperatures here are very cold. Like I said, a very dynamic target. So much going on, so much movement, a lot of emotions. So actually, let me just describe the subjects who are on both of these structures. So these subjects have a somewhat light skin, not completely light like Caucasian. And the other thing that stands out are their eyes. They have pointy eyes, kind of almond-shaped eyes. So I deducted, I was like, maybe Asian, maybe Afghanis or Syrians, because they can also have the type of eyes with like a slight point. And their clothing is their thick clothing, somewhat nylon. And other ones, like when I look here, I see a bunch of subjects, and some are actually wearing scarves and kind of like huddled, somewhat like that. And there's a state of shock. So I will do a deep mind probe to explore deeper into their minds and what's happening in this target. So this goes without saying, but these subjects are in a state of shock. And when I probe some of them, it feels like they've been in similar type of situations, but this is different. They've been in similar, but it's never taken a turn for the worst, like it seems like it has in this case. So some subjects here are kind of focusing on moving subjects out and into the smaller structure in the water. So kind of like some in here, some in here, and there's a lot of movement. I also want to take a look at where these structures are coming from. Moving a few moments beforehand, I'm seeing that the structures came from an area kind of looks somewhat like this with large structures and items stacked together. So the structures are very similar to this, just multiples of them with items. They look like crates, somewhat like crates, and this is where I visualized these structures came from before getting into this event. And then just add on, the more I observed this target activity, the more I could see that the clouds were getting darker and darker, and there was more and more dynamic movement of the water and kind of those waves just getting bigger and bigger, and there is significant damage to this structure right here. It is filling with water at this point, and it keeps sinking and sinking.
Okay, let's draw some conclusions from these data. So 2021 is going to be an interesting month. 3 of the sources appear to describe a violent disruption in an urban area, possibly involving a large explosion. And 1 story seems to describe trouble in water, possibly a ship that sinks or is in distress during stormy weather. We will just have to have fun and wait while we see how this all turns out for the month of September 2021. We don't have long to wait. So, that is it for our September 2021 edition of Farsite Human News, the news before it happens. Thank you for watching us, and please also join us next month in October 2021 for another look into the future of Earth humans. Also, be sure to look out for our next major mysteries project, Sodom and Gomorrah, our live stream events, the Farsite 18 News, where the focus of this month returns to Mars, the intelligence briefing, as well as the new Farsite economic forecast. And remember, we do Farsite at Farsite. Vocabulary is important in these changing times. I'm Aziz Brown of Farsite. Stay ahead of the curve. Let the mainstream fade in the dust. Be there now.